Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. We're getting close.
You guys went back there.
I called that regular Yep.
Oh, yeah. Are we taking dibs on all That's not
Ready? I would like to call to order the regularly scheduled Sylvania Township Board of Trustee meeting on June 3rd at 4 p.m.
On the roll, Mr. Crandall?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Mr. Dunaway?
Here.
Mr. Simcoe here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did anybody have any corrections or things they would like added to the minutes of the May 20th meeting?
I'm good.
Move to present them as...
Second, please. Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Dunaway?
Yes. Any additions or deletions to the agenda at this time?
Yes, I have one deletion under Administrator. Resolution 14063, I'd like to delete from this agenda to be put on at a later date.
John, just for the record, I have to leave at 6:30 tonight on a personal issue, so
Okay.
hoping that won't bother anybody too bad. Sorry about that.
No?
Yeah.
Hearing of the public on agenda items. Okay. Yeah. Mr. Henricks, you've signed in to speak on zoning.
Yes, sir.
Is that in regard to the, no, that's in regard to
My
the,
situation.
yes, okay.
Situation.
Well, then you're up.
I'm up. Yeah, I'm already ready. Okay. Yeah, make a little bit of later stuff, which is not very that in my opinion. But you guys have seen this. John, you haven't seen this stuff. But this goes back to my sorry, 2005, I think, and then I got some new things from 2010, and here today, June 3rd, 2014, over this issue. This is absolutely pathetic that the township that I live in can't do something about this situation. If I lived in the city of Toledo, they'd make me clean it up. The city of Toledo would be a hell of a lot better place for me to live right now, quite frankly. And I'm really getting tired. You guys are probably getting tired of seeing me here. Well, anyway, what I want to talk about today, and I've got my neighbor Dave Estrada here with me. Dave lives on the other side of this property, and quite frankly, you know, it just keeps getting worse. Here's some pictures of it. I'll pass this around. But this guy is now starting to build a cabin that he's going to build, I'm told, in his driveway. If he wants to talk to me, he's gone right now for 3 weeks. His grass was this high before he left, he did chop it down, or I should say weeds, not grass. He did chop it down before he left. Bottom line is, he's got a truck that doesn't belong to him, expired license plate on it in December of 2013. He's been driving it, I'm told, and my next door neighbor on the other side went with him to haul some stuff recently. He's got this wood piled up here in the driveway, wood piled up here behind the truck, all covered up, that he's going to use for beams in the property he's building, supposedly building in Colorado. But here, he's got this parked right on the edge of the driveway. This is the backyard, and Dave Estrada says he's seen him bury some things in the backyard. He doesn't have any trash pickup. My concern is the guy burying his garbage out there in the back, you know, and if he is, that's a health issue. This pile of wood is on Dave's side, so Dave has to look at this and this weeds and all that all the time. So, John, let me have you that, pass it around. But I got to ask you guys, you know, what the hell are we going to do? You know, what if I want to put my house in the market? Toledo market isn't all that great anyway. And the township market, I don't know how the rest of the township is, but I know the places in our neighborhood aren't selling for good dollars that they ought to be selling for. And if I want to put my place in the market, I probably won't sell it. Maybe I could find somebody with $100,000 or $150,000 to live next door to that. I mean, and you guys said last time I was here, John Burrell was going to get involved in it. I talked to John a couple times while I was in Florida this winter. And John said, well, he's been talking to the trustees about it, and, you know, what can you do? Well, hell, we're talking about this back in 2005. That time was the glider. Now the glider's gone, and now I've got this situation, and I'm told he's going to build a cabin and load it on a truck and ship it out to Colorado. You know, if he wants to do that, that's fine. Go rent a place to do it, but don't do it in this driveway next to me. When I walk out of my house in the morning, the first picture that you saw there is what I look at. When I come home at night, that's what I see when I come home. When I rounded the corner coming back from Naples, Florida, when I spend my winter, I look at that. You know, when I drove in my driveway, I'm already pissed off of being in Toledo. I don't want to be here in Sylvania Township. I mean, it's just that simple, guys. And I'm asking, Dave, if you comment regarding the burial of the stuff in the backyard, I think that's kind of, well, I don't know what he's burying. I'm not going to go out there and dig up the shark. But I know Dave has seen him on a number of occasions, and Dave told me that pile of wood, you know, there's stuff that's in and out of there. Well, cats, mice, rats, I don't know what they are, but I think it's pathetic. This has to go on. I'm asking you guys, what can you do for us? What will you do for us? Because I'm getting tired of coming here.
Jim, if I'm just, you know, I don't know if this will come across in a good way or not, but I think we've tried working hard with you every time you've come in. We helped take care. I mean, I know you've got a bad neighbor. You know what? I've had one too, so I know exactly what you're going through. But what I'm trying, everything you've come, and I'm glad you come, because I hope you don't. If you don't think we've not worked for you the last couple of years on trying to get rid of the glider, the wood that was along the property line, that was stacked up, that was for a construction project 2-3 years ago.
Oh, last year.
Last year, okay. But the good thing about you being able to come in here is not only being able to put it to the public, but the other good thing is it allows us to address an issue of, you got a really tough neighbor. And Darrell, let's circle back to these pictures. Have you had a chance to look at these?
No, I.
Okay. Now the car issue with the unregistered plate, those are the things that you obviously can address and get that taken care of, but it's not moving within, what's the time frame for that? 48 hours?
According to legal counsel, disabled vehicles, we can't enforce it. We can send a letter requesting they move it, that they get current plates, et cetera.
But we have plates that are not current, though, in here.
Right. Other than sending a letter, there isn't anything we can do about that. A junk vehicle, we can bring it before the Board of Trustees for removal, but to meet the definition of junk vehicle, it has to be extensively damaged.
So you're saying there's nothing we can do for Mr. Hendricks in this car when you...
We can send a letter to the property owner.
What was the situation we had in Charlotte Park with the Cadillac that was not running for a long time? Did that ever come?
Charlotte's not ours.
Not Charlotte, but Valencia. Did that ever surface or resurface or not taken care of?
We sent probably 3 letters.
Okay.
But that's, again, the same thing. It's not extensively damaged. Thank you. So that there's really nothing from a legal standpoint that we can do, according to our legal counsel.
I'm a loss for words on that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's extensively damaged, wheels falling off, engine on the side of the car.
What about an expired plate?
No,
That doesn't constitute?
This is a Georgia vehicle. I mean, the car doesn't even belong to him. This truck doesn't even belong to him. It's a Georgia
that's not a
vehicle.
zoning violation.
What has happened on, like you must have had a complaint in the past, Daryl? From
On
Jim?
this property?
Yeah,
Yeah, in the past it was on the glider trailer.
You got a plane in his backyard, his front yard.
so, but those have been resolved.
Right.
This is the
High
first
crash.
This is the first time you've gotten this complaint
Or with the truck.
this year? Oh, I'm not sure.
The wood has been piled up there since last summer, I believe. Sometime midsummer, that wood showed up.
I'm not sure, can we move a pile of wood? I mean, I understand your complaint with the neighbor, but I'm not sure we have the ability to order somebody to move a pile of wood.
Well, John Burrell was working on it. What happened to what John Burrell was doing? I mean,
We're gonna find out.
comment on that?
John, can you bring-
Where did that stand?
Dale and I have had numerous conversations with John Burrow last time he came in. There's certain things we can do, zoning, there's certain things we can't do. As Dale said, one of the things was the car. The Ohio Revised Code doesn't allow townships to really do anything with a car with expired plates, as long as it's on the private property and is not, Dale, what's the term, extensively damaged, or as long as it has an engine in it, transmission, wheels on the car, there's really nothing we can do in zoning on that. On the pile of wood, I don't know, did we ever talk, I don't remember the pile of wood being an object. I know the glider was one thing, and the code of regulations, the definition of, was it the front of the house, front house line and that? And the glider met that definition, so there's really nothing legally, zoning we could do there. We've worked with John, it just doesn't drop, and each time something comes up, we call him, and we're limited legally zoning what we can do. Now, if he violates certain zoning rules and regulations, we can do things. High grass, we can take care of that, but I don't know if he knows the law very, I mean, so he knows how far he can go, let's put it that way, but we have not dropped it, and once again, if there's new complaints, I'll talk to our council and see what we can do, but once again, having a bad neighbor, or a crummy neighbor, or a, whatever the saying is not illegal. I mean, as long as the guy, stays within his rights as a township resident, there's not a lot we can do other than say he's a bad neighbor. And that happens to a lot of people, but we do work on it. And I know the last time you were here, we immediately got on the phone. John Burrell was actually out here a couple times talking. I think he's talked to you.
Right.
We do what we can legally, but there's not a lot we can do.
Well, you guys were gonna look into the definition of the front.
And John did.
And John looked into that?
Yes.
And he determined that the garage was the front building line. He doesn't live in a garage. I mean, come on, guys.
Well, I'm not an attorney, so but I know John looked at it and came up that, Darrell, do you remember he was within compliance of our zoning rules and regulations, as I recall?
Well, I don't know. Wouldn't be just saying that forever, but you guys got understood that. I gotta tell you, it's not a comforting thing for Dave and I to be on one side, I'm on the other. And it's not a fun thing. I mean, it's a trash pit. There's better houses in the inner city than that house is right now. There's the roof shingles of the mailbox is falling apart. I mean, the garage doors, I mean, just go on and on and on. If anybody drives by and takes a look at that, from zoning, if you guys take a look at it, just say, geez, how anybody want to live in this?
Right, I know.
He hasn't even cut his backyard yet.
Yeah, the
Well,
backyard.
that we can address.
Yeah.
Zoning does.
Anyway, thanks for your time.
No, Jim, again, I appreciate you coming through. I think it's worthy of getting back with Burrell, and at least, let's continue to, it may not be the answer you want to hear, but we'll keep trying the best we can.
I don't want to hear any answer unless it gets cleared up. I mean, quite honestly, Neil, I'm up here with this thing, I really am. It affects my life, it affects the way I think about people, it affects, when I come back to Toledo, it affects my life in Toledo, quite frankly. And all I want to do is get out of this town. Can I have that back when you want to keep it?
Let's keep some copies of that, Darrell, can we?
Oh,
Yeah, we'll keep a copy of it. I'd like a copy.
You want it?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
No, I'd just like to have it back.
Okay, you got it. I'll get it over to your
Well,
house.
we can make,
Thanks, Jim.
we can make color copies of that.
Those were the
Well,
two.
I mentioned the trash, but nobody seemed to be concerned about it burying trash, so.
Is there anything against burying trash? I mean, I would assume that city water and city sewer there, so,
Probably. It might be a health department issue, but
yeah.
I don't think it's an issue. The wood appears to be firewood, which we don't regulate firewood. Again, maybe the health department.
No, my brother was cited by the township several years ago for not having it stacked up a foot off the ground, so, I mean, I think we do have some rules on the books, so, you
I think
know,
that might be a
selective enforcement kind of thing, or,
health department.
okay.
Looks terrible.
See that? Okay.
No. I didn't see the website.
Well, I believe the rest of the people that signed in on agenda items are for the public hearing. So at this time, I would like to open up a public hearing to address the request for a zoning change from A3 and C2 general commercial to R3 residential PUD and C2 general commercial PUD for the property located at 8739 West Central Avenue. Parcel 78-43194, continued from the May 7th meeting. Is there anyone here to...
Should we have George go, I think George should do an overview of the project and then people can
Okay.
talk to it.
What do they want to do first?
George Orvez, Consulting Engineer representing Redwood Development Corporation. At the beginning of our presentation, I would like to have Mr. Richard Batt, who is the Senior VP of Development of Redwood Corporation, to play a short video for you. It's a little bit in excess of 2.5 minutes, and to give you an overview of what Redwood Development is about and why they developed the communities that they have developed, especially in this area and other areas adjacent to us. Richard?
We're going to show just a short video, something that we've done in-house. I'm not Richard Batt, I'm Keith Ritz, one of the principals of the company. Rich will get up in a moment. This is Maggie, one of our regional
Welcome to
directors.
Redwood Living. Welcome to your new home. This entrance direct from your private garage means that you'll feel safe and secure, no matter what the weather is or any time of day. Let me take you on a tour. We offer an open floor design. A large eating kitchen provides generous counter space, high-quality cabinets, dishwasher, disposal, and a very large walk-in pantry. This breakfast bar gives you a nice separation of rooms, a smart design for a simpler lifestyle. This living room is a fantastic space for relaxing, with a nice flow into all the other rooms. This second bathroom is ideal for guests. The second bedroom includes a great closet. On your way to your master suite is a den, ideal for an office, craft room, or even a workout area. These sliding glass doors let in lots of natural light. The master suite is very large and comfortable, a kind of sanctuary after a long day. The master bath includes a huge walk-in closet. Redwood Living is a distinctive way to live. It is about elegance, comfort, convenience, and style. Join us at any of our Redwood Living communities. You'll be thrilled to call it home.
I'm Luke Fraser from the Redwood team. We hope you enjoyed the video tour and are looking forward to joining one of our communities. But even if you don't choose to join one of our apartment communities, we suggest you ask 3 questions of any apartment you're considering. First, ask them about noise from close by neighbors. Second, ask them how far the parking lot is from your apartment door and whether it's covered from rain or snow. Third, ask them about energy costs and what your energy efficiency ratings are. At Redwood, we've thought a lot about these questions, and we've made some important decisions about how we run our business as a result. Because of our smart, single-story design, you'll never have to deal with loud loud neighbors above or below you. We offer peace and quiet. And Redwood always offers private attached garages. This eliminates long walks at any time of day or night from a parking lot. Finally, Redwood is extremely proud of our energy efficiency. According to the nationally recognized HERS Index, our apartments are about 40 to 45% more energy efficient than an apartment built to a standard building code. That makes us an Energy Star. At Redwood, we believe that an informed consumer is our best customer. So make sure you get the best value for your leasing dollar. At Redwood, quality doesn't cost, it pays.
Good evening. My name is Richard Badd. I'm with Redwood. I want to tell you briefly who we are, kind of what we do, why we're here. Who we are, we're a Cleveland-based single-family or single-story ranch-style luxury rental developer. We have roughly 4,000 units either constructed or under construction currently. Our portfolio is leased. A few weeks ago, I met with our property management people, and we had 3,200 units in completed communities. Out of those 3,200 units, we had 12 vacant. And it shows a testament to the type of product we're offering to the market. We have a substantial presence here in the Toledo market with communities in Monclova, Oregon, and 3 in Perrysburg. And we're hoping to add Sylvania to that presence. Our product is empty nester targeted. The majority of our residents are empty nesters. We run a tight ship. We do background checks and credit checks on all of our residents. We keep the peace and quiet in our community. We have an on-site property manager, on-site maintenance person to maintain the type of environment we would like our residents to live in. We're a high rent. We're going to be $1,300 to $1,400 a month in rent. We serve right now an underserved portion of the market. We're a housing stock that is missing in most communities. A lot of seniors are changing their focus when they would like to get out of their home ownership situation, looking for somewhere else to go for a variety of reasons. You know, financial, maybe their retirement savings are not earning what they hoped, or their retirement savings are not as much as they hoped, or they're living longer than they expected. We allow them the opportunity to live off some of the equity they've hopefully gained in their home over the years. So we offer a financial alternative. We also offer a lifestyle alternative. We take care of everything for you. We cut your grass, we maintain the buildings, you have separate lawn cutting bills, you don't have to cut your own lawn, you don't have to plow your own snow. We take care of the maintenance of the outside of the building. We're basically full service. And we offer a kind of carefree lifestyle. If you want to spend part of the year in Florida, like the gentleman that was up here before, you know, it's really easy in our environment. So that's generally what we do. When we come into situations like this, we do our homework. On this particular site, we've reached out to highly regarded local engineer, highly competent, in order to design our project to fit in with the area, to deal with issues we knew going in, that there were stormwater issues in this area. And one of the discussions with him early on was for us to over-retain, for us to be part of the solution rather than part of the problem. We also have done traffic study and taken the recommendations of the traffic study plus some. We're making road improvements beyond what is recommended in the traffic study in order to, again, be part of the solution to the Central Avenue traffic issue rather than be part of the problem. That has been our approach to this. That is our approach all along. I think at this point I'd like to turn this over to George where he can discuss maybe some of the technicalities.
Richard Batt, B-A-T-T.
Thank you.
Thank you. As Richard has stated, we've been before the Toledo-Lucas County Planning Commission and received a positive recommendation, along not only with the zoning, but also with the preliminary plat that is required under your PUD. Coupled with that recommendation was 47 conditions. We have agreed to all 47 of those conditions. Then the Zoning Commission of Sylvania Township recommended favorably this zoning change approval under the PUD classification. And your administration, your zoning administrator, and your zoning department has recommended favorably this project because it not only meets an immediate need within Sylvania Township, it's going to meet a need that you're going to have in the future. Darrell pointed out in his report that we have an aging population in the country. From a national standpoint, the information we received was that 10,000 people a day go over the age of 55 in the United States. That means about 3.7 million people a year go over the age of 55. This is what this market targets to do. They target those particular people who wind up being empty nesters and are looking for more freedom in their lifestyle, but yet they do not want to give up any of the amenities that they have in their own home. And they have that with the appointments on the interior, the appointments on the exterior, the environment that is created within these developments, and the aesthetics also that are created. As you can see with our landscape plan, we believe in reforestation. We don't do just the minimum on landscaping. We do the way above and beyond, primarily because it pays off and benefits because of the environment that we are in effect creating. We believe in not just creating a development, but also creating a neighborhood in itself. And that's what occurs in the projects that we do. The projects that we've completed in Monclova Township, Perrysburg Township, the city of Perrysburg, and the city of Oregon have all turned out to be neighborhoods, not just projects, not just developments. Close relationships develop between the neighbors themselves because they're of a common age group and they enjoy the same particular things. What we sell, as the video indicated to you, is not only luxury but peace and quiet. I've met with neighbor groups adjacent to this project, to the south of us, to the east of us, to the west of us, and to the north of us. I met with the group to the north, east, and west twice, as early as, I think it was last week, Monday or Tuesday night, we had met to discuss the various issues that have come up through the public hearings and the concerns that the neighbors have raised with respect to this development. The first concern had to deal with the traffic on Central Avenue. We provided our traffic study, as was one of the 47 requirements, and in the traffic study, the determination was made is that with the traffic that we will be generating and the number of units we have, we will be required to put a left turn for traffic coming from the east going west to turn into our project, so that by having a left turn, people can get out of the through lane of Central Avenue, and because of the speed in that particular area, it obviously would make a much safer ingress and egress to the development itself. In addition to that, even though it was not required, we had requested of ODOT to allow us to put in a right turn lane for traffic coming from the west heading in an easterly direction, that it would give people, again, an opportunity to get out of the through lane on the south side of Central Avenue and be able to make a safe right-hand turn into the development. ODOT embraced that and said, yes, you have permission to do that as well. I believe the township trustees were provided of a letter from Mike Stormer, the district planning engineer, approving that traffic report and approving those improvements. The other issue that was discussed primarily by the neighbors had to do with our emergency access onto Mancy Drive. The neighbors were deeply concerned about traffic going down Mancy Drive, cutting through their development, and creating more traffic than they currently experience, which in their view is excessive based on the developments that were connected to them to the south. We had proposed putting ballards at the end of Mancy Drive in our project to prevent anybody from our development from using Mancy Drive, but yet the ballards are collapsible. The emergency vehicle, the people don't have to get out of the car, they press up against the ballard and the ballard collapses in the direction of our complex and they can simply drive right into the complex itself. There has been some question as to whether or not we would consider eliminating the ballards and just using a sign that says one way, do not enter on our property, and then have cameras that in effect could take pictures of anybody who would anticipate violating that particular signage so that the apartment complex can take appropriate action to notify those people and tell them what the ramifications would be in the event that they continue to do that, which could possibly even lead to eviction from the complex. We are open to either one. The neighbors would prefer the ballards. We had told them that we embrace the ballards. We also told the fire department that we would be willing to plow Mancy Drive and keep it free of snow and debris in the event that they would have to use that driveway to enter our project. We are also required as one of the 47 conditions to improve Mancy Drive from 12 feet wide to 18 feet wide by adding 3 feet on each side of the pavement to widen that road to make it serviceable and I believe it's the minimum width for a fire lane. That would in effect provide safe ingress and egress for any emergency vehicles that would enter or exit that project. What I did do is based on that particular situation, use of emergency vehicles, I verified with the Oregon Police Chief and the Oregon Fire Department, the Perrysburg Township Police Chief and their fire department, the same with the City of Perrysburg, and Monclova Township and the Lucas County Sheriff's Office as to how many service calls do you make to our projects. It turned out that Oregon has been open about 4 years. The balance of them have been open and occupied about 2 years. We have had no police calls, none, in any of the complexes. We've had no fire calls in any of the complexes. We average 1 EMS call a month. That's what each one of them turned out to be. So is there a tremendous demand on emergency vehicles in our complex? No, not really. 1 EMS call is relatively minor considering the fact that the number of units that we have in our complexes in this particular area. But it's absolutely essential for emergency vehicles to have 2 means of ingress and egress into the site, and that was the reason why we designated Mancy Drive as the point of ingress and egress. Whatever is decided by the trustees, whether you're comfortable with a one-way do not enter and monitoring cameras to ensure that it's enforced, if you're more comfortable with that, we're in agreement with it. If you're comfortable with the fact of using ballards, we had told the neighbors we would in effect use them. We're comfortable with that as well. The decision as far as that particular degree of control of traffic on Mancy Drive, we will leave up to your decision, provided you approve this project. The last item that is of main concern is the floodplain and the flooding issue that occurs in this area because of the effect of 10 Mile Creek. This project has been reviewed and our design, storm design, has been approved by the county engineer's office, and I provided to the trustees a map that we obtained from the county engineer, and I believe you have this in your packet, that shows that our point of entry of our stormwater that will be metered and discharged at a very low rate will enter 10 Mile Creek 2,000 feet east of Hare Road. And it's coming into 10 Mile Creek at a junction where 10 Mile Creek makes a turn to the northeast so that the direction of flow of the outlet pipe that is existing and currently there goes into the mainstream flow and goes further to the east. It does not have an opportunity, because it's going with the flow of the creek, to come back to the west where it would have an impact on Hare Road. In fact, the county engineer's comment in his review, or Brian Miller's review, was that we have no impact on Hare Road with respect to flooding or stormwater. All of our water goes 2,000 feet beyond that point into a different drainage section and does not have an impact on the height of the water or the volume of flooding that would occur whenever we have a large storm that affects 10 Mile Creek. Our storm design does not simply make an application to fill about 3.5 acres of the property that is currently in the floodplain, where we will have units. We are proposing in our design that we do a cut and fill balance, which in effect means the depth of the water in the area where those northerly units are just south of the two ponds on Central Avenue, the difference between the 100-year flood elevation and the existing ground grade is anywhere from 6 to 9 inches deep. It takes a little bit more than 15,000 cubic yards of material to fill that area and to raise it above the 100-year flood elevation. Our intention is, in our design, storm design, we will be excavating the north 400 feet, the portion that is now zoned commercial and would be commercial PUD, to accommodate 18,000 cubic feet of additional storage. So that means we are providing more storage than we are in effect filling. But the most important thing that we're doing, even though it's not a requirement of us, is we are allowed to exit water at a very, very low rate. We're only allowed 6 cubic feet per second. At an agricultural rate, at a 5-year storm, that's just a normal storm that occurs weekly for us, we would be allowed, if unrestricted flow in its current condition, about 18 cubic feet per second is leaving this site in the storm system and getting into the storm drainage system of 10 Mile Creek. When we develop, we are only allowed a maximum of 6. We've provided in the ponds themselves, the 5 ponds, and I provided you those calculations that we gave to Mr. Miller. We need 1 foot of height in our ponds to accommodate a 100-year storm. That's a 1% chance it will occur every year or once in 100 years. We are allowing a freeboard or additional volume for storage of 4 more feet. That means we are providing storage capacity above and beyond what we have to contain for a 100-year storm. Approximately 8 million gallons of water could be stored in our ponds. Now, the overall design and the mainstream that has been looking at improvements of 10 Mile Creek is looking at it from a two-pronged standpoint. Number one, the cleaning of the ditch to get rid of debris so that the water will flow more freely and less obstructions to increase the volume of water that will be making its way to the Maumee River, but also the implementation periodically of surge pools. And that's exactly what we're providing on our site. We are providing a surge pool for the water that would enter that particular area to mitigate the flooding that would occur during a 100-year flood. It is not going to help Hare Road, but it will help the residents that live in the Elmwood addition that are directly east of us, closest to Central Avenue, the flooding that occurs during a 100-year storm in their area. But it will also mitigate part of the water that comes to our property from the west, from the wooded area that is directly west of us. I have indicated to the people at a meeting that we had, last meeting we had with them, that we will be providing drainage facilities along our west property line and along our east property line and our south, that any water that is shed off of their property will be brought into our ponds and detained and treated for sedimentation, just like everything on our own site does. That, in effect, is a local law, it is a state law, and it is a federal law through the Clean Water Act. We have to detain the first inch of water that hits that site and our adjoining properties for a period of 24 hours, so that if there is any sediment in that water when it comes into the ponds, it has an opportunity to precipitate out so that when it does leave and gets into 10 Mile Creek and eventually makes it to the Maumee River, we are not polluting the waters of the United States. We must adhere to those requirements, and we are doing above and beyond what we are required to do to provide a surge pool activity to assist our neighbors and ourselves in maintaining part of the flood waters during a 100-year storm. That isn't a normal thing that's done during development. That is the Redwood way. Every project we've done in this area, we have not done the minimum. We have gone above and beyond to ensure the fact that we provide the protection to our residents, as well as we create the environment that is aesthetically pleasing and increases the value of the property owners that are adjacent to us. We've addressed the stormwater issue, not just from a minimal standpoint, but obviously from a much broader standpoint, the view that what we need to do in the future to begin to help the 10 Mile Creek situation. Toledo has already employed it. If you go around St. Anne's Hospital, if you go around Anderson's on Talmadge Road, and you follow Tiff Ditch through that area, there are 4 or 5 surge pools that the city of Toledo bought small plots of land, created them to eliminate the flooding in Tiff Ditch and save the residents from flooding in the local streets. This is the way they did it. They did it with surge pools. We're providing this even though we're not required to do it, and aesthetically it's not going to affect us. The water will be retained there, be allowed to go out at a normal rate, their allowable rate, which is 6 cubic feet per second, and then when it gets down to its normal level, it'll have the capacity to take on another storm. We think we've done, from an engineering standpoint, everything conceivable to make this as safe as possible. From a traffic standpoint, from a drainage standpoint, we have not affected anybody around us. We have enhanced their position. I sympathize with the people from Hare Road, but unfortunately, we can't do anything to solve their problem. That's a long-term problem that's going to have to take place over a period of time. They unfortunately are anywhere from 2 to 7 feet lower than our property in elevation, and at Hare Road, the 100-year flood elevation jumps 1 foot because of the restriction of the bridge under Hare Road to the flow of 10 Mile Creek. They've got a problem, and the overall problem begins with the cleaning of the ditch and then locating sites to create surge pools. In this particular case, with the approval of this project, you're ahead of the game. You're already taking care of a portion of Sylvania Township, and you're mitigating the damage that they may have from flood waters. I believe that's it for my portion of the presentation. If Keith has anything to add, or Kelly has anything to add, I would request that they do it now. Otherwise, we're open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
I'm assuming are you finished on the 4 for the project, and now is there anyone here to speak against the project?
I believe there's people here in favor of it.
Okay. Well, I guess at this time we'll open up for a public. Okay. Okay. I guess we'll keep it to the people who are for the project can get up and speak, and then after that we'll turn it over to the people who have questions about the development. Is there anyone here?
My name is Sally Gates. I'm currently a Sylvania Township resident. I first heard about Redwood probably 2 or 3 years ago when I visited their Monclova site. I was very impressed with it, and I do have a home right now, but I am interested in selling it and moving into an apartment. I loved the appearance. I loved all the amenities that they had to offer. So I called Cleveland and I said, when are you coming to Sylvania? Well, at that time, they didn't have plans, I guess, to do that. However, I've been in contact with Mr. Ritz many times during this last few years asking, when are you coming? When are you coming? I want to sell my home. And I love what you have to offer. So I am in support of Redwood's Apartments, and I'm asking for your approval on the zoning change.
My name is Michael Podolsky. I am one of the neighbors to the south. I reside at 8756 Oak Hollow Road, directly adjacent to the field. I want to speak in favor of the project. I wanted to note that Redwood has been very open and communicative and responsive in the concerns that I raised, 4 of which were the proximity of the pond in the back. I asked them to move that 50 feet further away from the house. I asked them to commit not to put us in a flood zone if we aren't already in it, and I don't believe we are. I asked them to make sure the grading didn't put any additional water at our house, at my house, or my neighbor's houses, for the runoff from the storm. And I asked them to make sure that the ponds were aerated or treated properly so we don't end up with algae ponds. And at the previous hearings before the Lucas County Planning Commission, at our Sylvania Planning Commission, and I'm sure again today they'll commit to making sure that happens again, that they'll take care of that. And I will say I have attended all the meetings that I've been invited to, and I have spoken to Mr. Orovitz at least 3 times on the phone, provided me with his cell phone. He's committed to send me drawings as they continue through the project. And I can only say I'm an attorney in town, and I wish everyone would be as communicative and open as they have been. So, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
At this time, go ahead.
Hi, I'm John Healy, 8330 Ledgestone, Sylvania, and I will say that I have interest in the project, that I represent the buyers or the possible buyers Redwood in the brokerage business, but from everything I've heard in the presentation and the excess that Redwood has committed to over and beyond the required engineering and traffic flow, I just don't see how you can't approve that. Thank you.
My name's Keith Ritz. I'm one of the principals, one of the founders of Redwood. Founded with my partner Steve Kimmelman back in the early 90s. And we founded the company and the unit design predicated on building something that we would be comfortable having our parents live in. And the average, and we've accomplished that. The average age of our residents is 58 years old, and we offer peace and quiet to those residents in what really becomes a neighborhood type environment. And we try to go that extra mile and be good citizens, catering to a niche of residents who no longer wish to have the joys of home ownership. They want to migrate out of their homes. They wish to, they're too vital to live in assisted living. But they just want a peaceful, quiet, safe place to be, and where there's no barriers, because again, because of our single-story design, we have no stairs, nobody above you, nobody below you, no steps whatsoever. So people can ambulate through their units very easily, even as they get older. I have stairs in my house. I wish I didn't. I've lived in one of our units for a time, because when I would go back and forth to working on development in certain areas, and I always found it nice to be around. And I walk through our communities. At time I drive out there and I'll see people outside working in their yards because they can, if they wish, have gardens, which we provide plantings and all that. But people do it anyway. They like to add to the scenery. And I say, so how do you like living here? And the responses are usually, gosh, it's peaceful, it's quiet, the manager's great. I looked for 20 miles around. I couldn't find anything like this. It's just, it's a nice place to be. I'm taking a trip with our neighbors across the way there, going down to Florida, going wherever, and again, we create neighborhoods. People live with us by choice. From an economic standpoint, I was just looking at your tax rates in Sylvania. They're a little higher than some of the communities we've built in. From a county level, we figure we'll probably be generating about $600,000 plus a year in property taxes, and we won't be. And the number of children that we might have if it runs along how our other projects are built, or developments are built, we might have 15, 18 kids. So we'll be generating a lot of tax revenues. As well as probably $800,000 in sales taxes just from the construction of the project, estate taxes, income taxes. I also I looked at the staff report, and it was as you probably all have, and I couldn't have written a nicer report. I mean, it was that favorable toward it, and the people who wrote the staff report, they understood that there are people out there, thousands of people out there, who are going to need our type of housing, and everywhere we go, we have, once we get the projects up and running, the demand exceeds the supply. And when Richard talked to 12 vacancies, those were units that were being turned over. They were already leased. We don't have vacancies. People move out, we have turnover, but there's always somebody to step back in, and that just is testament to the demand and the need of some folks out there as they get older. That's it. We're willing to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
There's just one other comment that I missed, point I'd like to make, and that is that the roadways, the sanitary sewers, the storm sewers, the detention ponds, the water lines are all private. They are not the responsibility of the township to maintain. They are not the responsibility of the county to maintain. The two services that we will be utilizing of the township will be your police service and your fire service. And as I stated before, one EMS call a month is basically what we're experiencing from the units that we have in this area. We feel that this is economically and from a need standpoint, a terrific development to have in Sylvania Township, and we ask for your support. Thank you.
George, did I get a copy of the 47 recommendations from the Lucas County Plan Commission? I know I got a stack of paper here about 4 inches tall, but I can't seem to find those 47 recommendations.
It's attached to the resolution. Resolution 14049 is at the end of it.
That one? Is that it?
Yeah. That's the place.
Thank you.
Done, George?
Okay, thank you.
My name is Tim Schlachter. I'm at 8738 Big Cypress Circle. Can I ask that you put the site plan, the colored site plan up, if you could find that and put it up for my comments? As a point of disclosure, I'm the Vice President of Commercial Operations for Danbury, so John works with me, and obviously there would be financial interest in this from my perspective, so I wanted to disclose that. Secondly, I do serve on the Board of Zoning Appeals here in the township, another role I fulfill, but I am a resident of Forest Lakes, which is the subdivision to the south, and I also control 4 of the last 6 remaining buildable lots in Stony Brook. So a lot across the street from where you live. And when I first saw that site plan, that's the one right there, that's fine. What I most liked about it was the buffer it created between Forest Lakes, Stony Brook, and Central Avenue. It can be noisy, it can be loud, and having a nice pond with some landscape, mounds and such provides a nice transition from residential to Central Avenue. So I thought it would have a great positive impact on Stony Brook. And as I look to build out those last 4 lots, being able to say with being able to represent that this is what's going to happen is a positive, because there's always that unknown of what could go on that property, and this is a very positive development. I've also been in their Perrysburg Township location through a number of times during construction and post-construction. I've come from a construction background, and I'm impressed at the process. I'm impressed at how clean and orderly and timely it happens, but more importantly, the way you run your facility and the positive impact you have on the community that surrounds it and the niche that you serve is to be commended. So as a neighbor and someone that has some building opportunities nearby, I think it's a great asset. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Is there anyone here that would like to speak against the project?
Concerns
Or just, yeah. I shouldn't phrase it like that, just if anyone has concerns or questions, please come forward.
Penny Levine, 3753 Her Road. I'm resident not only of Sylvania Township, have watched neighbors south of me deal with water now for almost 18 years. I've heard all of their stories, needless to say. Some that have lived there 60 and 70 years, that have battled nothing but water, let alone the traffic situation. You were literally playing Russian roulette, driving down Central Avenue. Speed is 50 to 55 miles an hour, needless to say it's 60 to 65. don't try and turn into her road because you will have an 18-wheeler that would like to run you over. Last year was also horrific, and the fire department can attest to that. What was left of the gentleman that was hit at her road in Central because he wanted to turn into the street. Unfortunately, was hit from the rear, then pushed into an 18-wheeler who was doing more than 50 miles an hour. So this is pretty much a weekly thing. If you're not hit, it's a near miss. Let's put it that way. I cringe every time the school brings kids to Timberstone and to Central now, and also takes them home. I've spoken with the school system many times to take them to Central Avenue. My concern is, and I don't want to sound ageist, but as we know, we all slow. Our reaction time gets slower. And even with turning lanes, I've seen it on Central Avenue because I go up and down that street at least 12 times a day, and others around town. Reaction time is slower, whether you have a turning lane or not. And sometimes when there's 3 and 4 and 5 cars that are trying to fit into the turning lane, whether it's left or right, somebody's sticking out. And not always is every piece of that car in that turning lane. And that's what really concerns me, is that the blood will be on someone's hands if this is not some way other than turning lanes. Okay, we live in this area. We know what it's like. We're not going off of a drawing. We live it every day. We're concerned with it every day. We see it. A turning lane, left and right, I don't think. And I know you're professionals, but sometimes they make mistakes. And I'd hate to see more lives either maimed or taken because of the situation, instead of putting a light, something that will slow the vehicles down, something that will cause some of the trucks to slow down and then have to take off again at a slower pace than breezing through at 55, 65 miles an hour for people to get in and out of that area. We have enough near misses and collisions at Chrissy and Central, let alone her road now, let alone what took place at Centennial. My second concern is, I've been there, like I said, almost 18 years. Back in '96, the tower by the county was installed to create more water pressure, to also store water, that kind of thing. Our water pressure is horrible. There have been 3 or 4 more developments that have come in along the way, let alone 2 new schools, and everybody is pulling from that same water service that comes down Central Avenue, then down her road, which feeds Resource Park, feeds those tied into her road, Bridge Creek, Brookside, the 2 schools, and anyone else tied in, Waterside, everybody that has built in and up since '96. So you're putting in possibly 214 more units, which I read through real quickly. It says also PUD approved for 272 units, the possibility. So you'll have more pulling from that water system. Is that water system the same system coming down Central Avenue that feeds into her road to Sylvania, Mitchell? If so, I would think that's going to affect pressure some way, somehow, where we'll be down to pretty much a dribble by then. And especially in the morning at shower time when everybody's taking showers in the morning trying to get ready for work, you know, that kind of thing. You really notice that the water pressure goes down. So those are our concerns, let alone I worked on the stormwater district for Lucas County from beginning to end until it was enacted. Collection's been now the last 2 years, but we haven't seen anything done, not even a twig. What work has been done has been through the township and hopefully be reimbursed. I'm sure they have for what work has been done. And with what the cost is from the township, which is a heck of a lot less money charged to the taxpayer, a lot of work has been done and you see that result. I mean, you really can. We haven't had a lot of rain, but we've also haven't had the rain like we did before, you know, in '08 and '07 and '06. So nobody's floating away at the moment. The problem of it is you never know when it's going to come, and when it comes, it comes. no warning, in the back door, out the front. And the runoff, I heard, they will be curbing that on impervious space between sidewalks, driveways, the building themselves, that kind of thing. That runoff is also part of then that drainage that is tying in back behind Central Trucking, where it curves, that part of 10 Mile Creek, and then funnels into the north, that northeast section. Okay, because there's a big tie-up and a big blockage at that point right now. Horrible. And when I spoke to the county, they weren't even sure when they were going to get to it. So I have seen water go uphill. So water does travel uphill. So that water that can't drain from this project or from just the normal drainage will be backing up. And unfortunately, her road and Brookside will pay the brunt of it. Is this the same project that was also about 2 or 3 years ago presented to the people behind Waterside? Okay, and then that got turned down, correct?
No,
You just decided, because I know they hired attorneys and were fighting the whole situation. Yeah, so, okay.
There were complications with
The property was in bankruptcy, and I don't think anybody could get the property out of bankruptcy before they wanted to move forward.
Yeah, because I know they didn't want the traffic to come through Waterside and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
That was in that area required not 9 inches of fill, but 6 feet of fill to get above the 100-year flood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I live at the high point.
One of our zoning guys was opposed to that project, but I guess he voted for this one, so it is kind of strange, but...
Bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy things. See, that's...
Half times as much water as we're required to hold back, so leave it the way it is, you'll have 6 times as much water sheeting on the site.
Well, exactly, and the more impervious space, though, that you create, that's why we're so concerned when someone puts a project in. And we have seen and we've heard this before, just like with various projects around, and I'm sure the people at Brookside heard the same thing. Oh, don't worry about it, we're putting in ponds, we're putting in retention, detention ponds, and what happens? 4 streets of theirs flood, and the basements flood, and you name it. You know, I mean, they wound up more water than they wanted. And then, of course, the developer went, bye-bye, you know, he built, he's gone. So that's the thing, too. Who's going to monitor this and, you know, make sure that what has been promised and what has been said will be done?
The county engineer reviews, inspects, and approves all the drainage systems. The sanitary engineer approves, reviews all the storm or the sanitary sewer and the water lines.
That I understand, but sometimes they make mistakes and sometimes
all those people approve cobblestones, and we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars out there trying to improve and correct the flooding issues. So those same people, like Penny just said, do make mistakes and do miscalculations. And Greg, how much have we spent in cobblestones to date?
Right.
I mean, that developer, you know, sold lots at 60, 80 grand a piece, and now the township's stuck holding the bag for that.
Well, and the thing of it was the first portion of money that came out of the Stormwater District Fund, which that was not applied for, helped pay for repiping all of Sylvania Metamora to alleviate the cobblestone flooding.
Yeah.
Okay, which was not part of that Stormwater District project. So they wound up paying for it out of that pot, which helped cobblestone. But those are the same concerns like that, just what you had said, John. You know, we've heard the story before, you know, and I'm just hoping, you know, that for everyone on Mancy and in that area, and Elmwood, and those on Central Avenue, that...
The numbers are right.
The numbers are right, exactly. And that, God forbid about the traffic. Really pushing with the state, because Central is the state route. I would have to agree, you know, myself, that I don't think turning lanes are really going to do it, especially if you then have, I saw it's a mixed PUD, where then down the road you will have residential properties, which then will have children, possibly children or young drivers, also in and out. On the backside, because this is over a 5-year property, isn't it? That even the ponds will take about a 5-year period, won't it? So this is a project that's going in, boom. There won't be anything added to this PUD rezoning.
The project is designed to be installed in 3 phases.
Okay, so there are phases.
Let me qualify that. Every project I've built in this area has been 3 phases. By the time we are done with the first phase, we are already building the second phase because the occupancy is coming in and moving in. By the time I get started on the second phase, we're also doing the third phase. The project continues all the way on down, and I would expect from the time we start construction, 9 months later, this entire project will be built.
9 months? You're quick.
It depends on the lease-up, it depends on the financing. Well,
even, my husband's in construction.
Weather's the big.
Yeah, exactly.
We build very quickly and we lease very quickly.
Okay, so 214 units, am I getting this right, is the only thing that's permitted then to go in on this project under this PUD? That's it? Nothing more down the road?
No. You can see the entire site is built out.
Well, I was just reading, though, what was on here, and it's set up to 272.
Permitted to build 270.
I think that's
But we're not asking to do that.
that's what would be allowed, but
That's correct.
the PUD's clear, 14.
PUD locks you in as to the density you can build.
Right.
The arrangement that you put the units on, the amenities that you show you must put in. All those are, once you get the PUD approved, you have to come all the way back through the process if you want to amend anything.
I thoroughly agree with you, Mr. Orovitz, but you know what, we have a piece of property on her road that's a PUD, okay? The owner of that PUD property next to the creek it's a totally different thing, but John, what I'm saying is we go back to what is supposed to be said, what it reads, and then what doesn't happen. Do you understand?
We have adopted new PUD things, and you know the story behind those other ones, and I do not think that that is related to this project here. I mean...
Related in the sense that, you know what I'm talking about, if you say one thing, but then something else is done, and the definition of PUD that sometimes doesn't get enforced.
You can go to every community that we've built in, to a man, to a woman. You can ask every township administrator, mayor, zoning person, our neighbors, and they will all say the same thing. We're stand-up guys that we do what we say we're going to do, and we're good neighbors. And when we say 214, it's 214 units. That's it. We're allowed to build 270. We don't want to build 270. It's 214. There's no room for anything else. That's all we would put here, and that's it. I mean, it's plain and simple. Whatever is the 47 recommendations that they've asked us to make, we're contractually obligated, legally obligated to do all those things and manage that stormwater management system. It's got to be built to design specs. We're obligated to do that. We're allowed 2 parking spaces per unit. We're providing 4 parking spaces per unit. Whatever, they were just showing compare A and B. What we're allowed to do, we're doing less.
Okay, and this is curbed and sidewalked. Is it curbed and sidewalked down the roads?
No.
No.
We have rolled curbs. We do not have sidewalks.
Okay. And the street lighting, is there street lighting?
No. The lights are on the doors in the garage, and the intensity of the lights shine and also light up the street. There are no street lights and street poles.
Okay, and will each unit have an address plate that's lit up, or at least visible? Will each unit have an address plate or something that's visible?
Yes.
Is that a requirement?
That's what we do.
Okay, all right.
We've done 40 projects.
That's right, the fire chief's office is out here, it's required, because he's got to find the people.
Yeah, exactly, that's my point. It's hard trying to find anything around here.
Not opposed to that. Makes sense.
Okay.
We want safety. We want peace.
So do we. We have to live here. Okay, thank you so much.
Penny, I got a question for you. I've been on the board 4.5 years, and it seems like we've had at least 2 or 3 100-year floods in that period of time. Is that
Yeah, there's
correct,
about 6. We've had 6, yeah.
So, and it just, I mean, that 100-year thing, you think, criminy.
Well, it's about 140 years now. But yeah, the quote-unquote 100-year flood, but yeah, there's been 6. I mean, somewhere along the line, each zoning person here has gotten the pictures, because I would send pictures, and there should be a VCR tape too of where all the blockages were. But yeah, John, it's been pretty ugly. Even the fire department can attest to that, because they've gotten people out of their homes by boat. So,
And Greg, when they closed Central Avenue because the water was over the road, well, like, where do they stop it at Centennial and take it all the way out to Chrissy, or, and how many times have they done that in the last 5 years?
The detour would be central to one of the other county roads, or maybe even 295. But ODOT has informed me that they have typically closed Central Avenue due to flooding once every 18 to 24 months.
yeah, and you've got Nolly, Bancroft, you've got Chrissy, you've got Central, I mean, all the way, you know, to, what is it, Murd Road. I mean, where it's been, I've walked it, and, you know, it's been up to my knees in the water, and all the way to Centennial. The last one was about 400 feet before you got to the intersection of Centennial and Central. And I've never, ever in all that time seen some of the water do what it did. 3 days, it was like that for 3 days. It was bad. And Bancroft, like I said, and Chrissy were also under that whole area, so it was crazy.
There has been, on your traffic stuff, there has been 5 fatalities in the 6 years within a mile of the entrance, proposed entrance. Pardon? Well, that was just on Central Avenue, 5 fatalities. Is there anyone else?
I'd just like to read a letter that I prepared, and I've got copies to give to the trustees and probably anyone else that would like. It just expresses my concern. My name's Jeffrey Lublin. My wife and I own the property immediately to the east of the development. And, you know, I don't want to say that I'm against the project, but I have concerns that if they're adequately addressed, which George says they are, but if you know, that is correct, then I would say I'm not against it. But I'll just read this. My name is Jeffrey M. Lublin. My wife and I own the property adjacent to the east of the property in question. We do not object to the change in zoning and the development of the property in question so long as the plans adequately address any runoff onto our property, and relying upon your expertise to review the plans to make sure that that's correct. We are concerned about any increase in elevation because we have incurred 4 major floods in the last 8 years, and maybe I'm understating that. We understand that an adjustment was made to the plans to prevent runoff to the south of the property in question, but a similar change wasn't made to prevent any runoff to the east. That was briefly mentioned the last time we had, I guess, for the zoning meeting, and I guess the gentleman over there would talk to George about some adjustments to the south, and I'm not sure what they were, but if there's something that would prevent runoff to the east, I would request that the same be done to the property on the east property line. We request that the matter be addressed before the zoning change is approved. We had up to 18 inches of water in our garage, and our house was surrounded by a lake the last time 10 Mile Creek flooded. It was so bad that we were unable to access our property for 2 days. To make matters worse, the residents are left to fend for themselves during a flood. Unlike other communities that chip in to assist with sandbags, Lucas County and Sylvania Township officials, at least in the past, have been conspicuously absent during a flood. I don't mind paying taxes so long as the governing bodies are present in times of need or address the flooding problem to prevent a reoccurrence. The jury is still out on whether the problem has been or will be adequately addressed. Before the development of the property across the street from my office, which is now Franklin Park Reconditioning, was approved by township officials, the elderly couple that owned the property adjacent to the west of said property expressed their concerns about flooding at meeting of the township trustees. That'd be the people that own Central Kennels. However, their concerns were dismissed at the time, and we had 4 major floods after the property was developed. It was so bad that they had flooding in their house on their first floor. I wouldn't doubt that the stress caused by the flooding led to the death of one of the owners of Central Kennels. Have the appropriate studies taken place regarding any additional runoff from the current proposed development? If so, can we obtain copies or could they be provided to the neighbors? Also, will the county and township guarantee that the development will follow the proposed plan? I was told that the property that was developed across the street was supposed to have a retention pond to the north that was never installed and nothing was done about it. I don't know if that's correct or not. Could you please let me know if they were supposed to do something that was never done that would help prevent flooding? If so, will the county and township be able to assure me that the new development will follow its plans? Will the county and township indemnify the neighbors if the development exacerbates the flooding? Unless the flooding problem is adequately addressed, no new development should be allowed in the watershed area of 10 Mile Creek. Once the issue has been properly addressed, we have no objections to further development. So the whole question is whether or not, and what George said is correct, and whether or not it will help prevent the flooding. And I've got to say that I've been impressed with George's presentations every time.
Thank you.
My name is Barb Bondi, and I live at 8649 Mancy, and I was here before. My concerns still are in regards to the traffic into Villa Farms through Mancy, and I think some of the discussion has been brought up here about the traffic on Central Avenue. If Central floods, like it does at least once or twice a year, it closes off that area, how are these people going to get in and out of their division? If Mancy's a one-way street going in, which is new, because at the meeting this week, he said that he didn't even bring that up. He said that the fire department had agreed with the collapsible barriers. But if there's a one-way in, then that's going to be a thorough way into this development. White Ash is a stub street also, but they have developed barriers for any type of opening into the subdivision, as is Airdor. But my concerns are that this will increase traffic into Mancy. I ask if the board approves the zoning change, that they make sure that all the contingencies are stated by the developer and by the board are required and are in the approved plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question to Redwood. You said that you would make improvements to Mancy and expand the road to the proper 18 feet width. Is that just from Elmwood to the development, or is that from the development to Centennial Road?
From Elmwood to the development.
Okay.
That's the way the condition is written.
Okay. There's already 1,600 cars northbound on
Mancy
Elmwood.
doesn't connect to Centennial.
It doesn't?
No. That's next street south, I forget.
Okay.
Large.
Large. I mean, there's already 1,600 cars a day just on northbound traffic on Elmwood a day.
Boy,
We're not planning on using Elmwood.
that doesn't sound.
That just came from the chief of police.
Oh, I don't. Can't question it. Barb, I had a question, I'm sorry. You're talking about the 47 conditions, aren't you? When you said
In
be sure.
addition to those conditions, he stated that they would make the ponds deeper, and the plan, the 47 plan, does not require that a barrier be put at Mancy or.
I thought I read that. Am I correct, George, or not?
I think.
It's part of the storm drainage requirement by the county.
No, I'm talking about the barriers.
Yes.
I thought I saw that. That's not part of the.
It's not part of the 47 conditions.
In addition,
Well,
the
that's
other
good. Thank you.
requirements that he's talked about, making the widening of Central, that was not in the conditions either. That was an ODOT recommendation, but it's not in the 4720.
I got it. Thank you.
If I may address the storm sewer issue, we absolutely in our design are going to wind up with 5 feet of height from the top of bank of the ponds to where the water level will be. The soil reports that we got on the area indicate that the water is 5 to 6 feet below the ground surface. As you get further to the south on the project, the water table is actually even a little deeper because it's only the front 400 or 600 feet that is actually by the elevations we've obtained in the floodplain. The balance of our land is already out of the floodplain. When you get to the back of the property, the rear of that property is 5 feet higher than Central Avenue. So it's only a small portion of our property that is actually, that we're intending on building on that's in the floodplain. The gentleman who is concerned to the east of us, we will not be building any barrier or any mounds that will prevent his stormwater from coming to our property. First of all, the first 30 feet adjacent to his property, I can't touch. I can maintain it, I can keep it cut, but it contains the pipeline easement. And I can't build, I can't do anything on that pipeline easement. I can't even do plantings on top of that pipeline easement. That's why we have our units 30 feet away from the pipeline easement, so we have room to put plantings on that east side and complement our project. We intend to slope all the ground adjacent to our properties or our property, adjacent property owners on the east, on the west, on the south, slope the ground into our property. So there are no barriers, and it will allow the water to go into our detention facility so that it must stay in there at least the first inch of rain for 24 hours before it can leave the site. Any other additional water will be metered out. It is part of a requirement that I have to put in that is a county requirement, which they will inspect and check. It is also a state requirement, which means I have to file with the Ohio EPA and notification that I'm doing it so they can send out somebody to check it and inspect it. And then those reports are filed and notified to FEMA or the federal government agency to ensure the fact that we are meeting all those requirements. This isn't something that we come up here and say we're going to do it, and there are no checks and balances. The county engineer will review those figures and those detention requirements and the surge pool that we're providing in that area, as well as the Ohio EPA. And our design criteria have to be right to the money.
As you know, though, I mean, Mother Nature's not always on the money, and things change, and I know, that obviously it's a big concern to the residents surrounding the community. I mean, we've had several meetings up here just on the flooding issues right there. That's like the heart of our worst flooding area. So obviously it's a concern of ours. I've heard and read nothing but great things about Redwood development. I have checked out 3 of your communities. I was driving through Fort Wayne about a month ago, and I saw you've got a new one up going over there. You guys are a great development project. Again, the tough questions and things that I'm asking up here is because I do think that the residents here bring up legitimate concerns. We've got serious flooding issues in the area, and Central Avenue is one of our worst accident-prone streets in our community. So I know you guys have attempted to address each of those issues, but there's still an uncertainty of, is that enough? And what if it's not? Is the township going to be stuck holding the bag for improvements down the road? And how do we handle it? Do we pay somebody who's living on Elmwood Drive if their home, somewhat goes down in value because they've got black mold because of a flood over it? I just don't know of what this start kind of chain of event thing happens and what responsibility we as trustees have and what responsibilities we have to the community. And that's why I'm kind of trying to ask difficult questions, and I'm not opposed to the project, but I have a lot of serious concerns.
Well, respectfully, Mr. Genuine, the law only requires that we detain water for a 25-year storm. What have we done with our project? Our base flood that we're providing is a 100-year storm. But we're not only providing storage for the 100-year storm, we're providing storage for 5 100-year storms in a row. That means 5 days in a row, each day, if we had a 100-year storm, we still are containing the water on our site. But what we're able to do by grading it the way we are going to grade it and take water from the east, from the west, and from the south, is we're going to be able to take their water that normally would cause a problem. If we had an extensive rain, it will come into our surge pond and be sent out at a metered rate, a very low metered rate, which from a mitigation standpoint helps everybody adjacent to us.
I mean, I get the concept, but I've also been out there when that whole area has been 5-6 inches underwater. So I don't understand how you can, handle that volume of water. And, that 100-year storm sounds like, we might see one in our lifetimes. But like I said, I've already seen 4 on this board. And it's a fairly common thing out here. And certainly, again, you guys are right where the drainage ditch hits the 10-mile creek. I mean, you're within a half mile of that. And that is the worst flooding we have in our community. And I know you guys didn't create it, but are we adding to it with this project?
Not at all. Not at all. I didn't say we would totally eliminate the
I understand that.
All I'm saying is we aren't going to add to it. We are mitigating part of it, and that it will be less flooding because we're providing storage for the increased water that comes into that area.
Well, what if you do? What happens then?
What happens then is the water stays in our ponds till the storm subsides and can gradually get out back into 10-Mile Creek.
Well, what if the neighbors are seeing increased flooding and things? I mean, is there any accountability on the developer on this, or do you guys?
Could I address it, John? Maybe one thing, that's agricultural property now, so they cannot put any more in than goes from the farm ground. They're limited. He has additional storage. If somebody has flooding, it's not coming from his project. And because it's agricultural property, it's not assessed in the county's drainage district. So that property's paying nothing toward the project we want to see on 10-Mile Creek. After development, the county will go out and they'll calculate a C factor and they will be required to pay it. So they're not adding any water to the problem, and right now that property's paying nothing toward the solution. They now are going to have to pay toward the solution. I think that's fair. But if there could still be flooding. Once in 100 years, that doesn't mean 100 years, it means there's a 1% chance every single year. And yeah, you do see, I've seen flooding out there. Central Avenue usually, Greg, you can count, it usually goes over first at Prairie Ditch. We're not even talking about Prairie Ditch, but Prairie Ditch is where it usually goes over first, and then it does go over in this area. But they're not adding anything to that problem, other than funding in the future the solution we're all trying to work on, 10-Mile Creek.
I'm John.
Somebody else's.
I'm John Healy again. I already stated proponent of the project, and I can't sit here and listen to this conversation without asking, has everybody considered, everybody in the room, not just the trustees, that this is an applicant who's not going to come in and be a developer and leave and sell lots? They're going to be an operator. They're going to put $20 million, $25 million on the table, and they're not going to be able to walk away from that debt. They're going to have to rent those units, and they're not going to rent them if they're underwater. I mean, they have a vested long-term interest in it. They're probably the best thing that could ever come along the road to address this property, develop it, and make it happen because they're going to stay there. Thank you.
I'm Beverly Miller, and we live at 3625 Pearl Road, and we also own 8513 Central Avenue. And I agree also that as far as the best thing that could happen would probably be something like this development. I do have concerns, the Central Avenue traffic. If that road is not widened more than just a turn lane, we're going to have problems at 8513. We literally have to just keep going if there's cars behind us and the light is green. Otherwise, we could be another fatality. That's one of my main concerns, and the other one is that the flow of the flood plain, because where we live on her road, it literally comes down her road all the way across Central Avenue, and if those homes are higher than the street level, that's going to cause all that. I've already had 2 washouts on her road, on Central Avenue. So the water comes right down Central Avenue, right onto those properties east of you. So are those homes going to have basements?
No.
Okay, are they going to be above the street level?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to be blocking all that water coming, so it's all definitely going to be on Central Avenue and coming right to mine?
No. No. There's 2 ponds between Central Avenue and our development.
We're going to stop the water. We're going to reduce the flow by 2/3.
But it doesn't come all the way across the street. That's the problem. Of course, there's not much you can do, but because of the height of the water, it's...
You're going to have less water coming off our site by a factor of 2/3 than is coming off of it as a raw agricultural site.
I'm all for it if that's the case, because 2 washouts was terrible.
Did you say you're on her road?
I live on her road, 3625.
And you have another property on Central?
We have 8513. We were going to use it as an office
No,
space because there are other offices.
I'm being sure I'm listening.
But we had issues with zoning, even though there were other businesses on the road, and so we weren't able to build. So we turned it back into a rental property, to a residential area. So those are my 2 concerns. But I think it'd be of all the lesser of all evils. I'd like to think that the owner of the new development was going to be right there suffering with the rest of us.
Thanks, Beverly. Is there anyone else that would...
My name is Jerry Williams. I live at 8441 Nancy. I've lived here about 30 years. And I know these gentlemen and their project sounds great, and he's probably been engineered to the nth degree. But I also know that hydraulics of water, as water goes up in the retention ponds, that means the water level is going up in my yard. Say what you like, water seeks its own level. I'm not a genius, but I'm not an idiot either. So, and I think they're protecting their property with their retention ponds in a very good way. And my other concern is Central Avenue. And the biggest problem, I think, overall with water in that area is 10 Mile Creek. We have a big flood, everybody gets all hyped up, they clean out 10 Mile Creek. There's not a flood in that area for several years. Go down, walk down by 10 Mile Creek. I do. It's all plugged up again because nobody does it. The county or whoever is not doing their job keeping it clean properly. So you have a big rainfall, water comes up, 10 Mile Creek floods because it can't get down to the river because it's plugged with debris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? This time I would like to close the public hearing.
Could I ask one
Yes.
question? Mrs. Bondi, I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs., your 2 areas of concern were the Ballards and the right turn, am I correct?
I live on Nancy, and my main concern is 214 homes coming into Villa, either...
No, I meant you said there were additional conditions above the 47, and I think it's the right turn lane that they've agreed to do. You would like that in one of the conditions. Correct?
Didn't they say they were going to do a turning lane?
Yeah, a right turn lane.
From Centennial to Christie, a
Right.
left turn lane.
And then I think the other was,
And that was not in the conditions.
yes, and the other was the Ballards. And could we say and/or a one-way
Yeah.
street?
I'd rather not
Okay.
have a one-way because I think the traffic will still flow in.
No, your road would not be one-way on Mancy. That would be two-way, but there would be signs and maybe a camera restricting the new development. It would be one way for them, one way in. Out, they'd have to go down to Central Avenue. And I don't know if you like that better than Ballards, but I think either solution.
Keep people coming, because they're going to come down, what's going to happen is the traffic is going to back up down Central, they're going to turn.
Oh, I got
down
that
Villa,
part.
Turn down Nancy and go up.
So those are your two
It's the traffic.
conditions. Okay. And the other thing I would caution us on, there's probably nothing wrong with it, George, that you'll plow the street, but I think we're still responsible for Nancy Drive, so even if you're plowing it, we've got to go down and be sure it's okay. We can't give a private. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just have a technical question. The water is going to be dispersed from the ponds to 10 Mile Creek. Is that going to be by way of a pipe or what?
Pipe.
Do you know the size, George?
Probably be a 12-inch outlet pipe that'll have a cap in the water quality structure that will restrict it to maybe about 5 or 4 1-inch diameter holes that will allow the water to go out.
Thank you,
Well, I guess at this time, where's my sheet? Oh. Offer Resolution 14-049, approve the zone change request from A3 agricultural to C2 general commercial to R3 residential PUD and C2 general commercial PUD for the property located at 8739 West Central Avenue.
Did you make the motion, or?
Yes. I closed the public hearing, and then I was offering...
I'll second the motion. I would like to add the 2 conditions for the Ballards and the right turn lane. Apparently, they're not in the conditions. Is that correct, Darrell?
Yes, sir.
Well,
Mike?
Just a general question, because I know that there's been commitments made along the way. I think what she was speaking to was the commitments made on the record vis-a-vis the Ballards or whether it be my property, that those commitments are part of the record. I think that's
Good suggestion,
including the
George.
commitments that were made.
Whatever George said. No, but that's a good
I mean, that's
comment.
so they're part of the public record, so if something were to go wrong, and I'm not giving any legal advice, but it's just a suggestion, that either way be incorporated into the record so that if someone has a problem, they can refer to the record, which is a public record.
Okay.
Well, what are we doing here on this, the Ballards and the right turn lane?
Well, let's take whatever's commitments made by the developer on the record. How's that?
And then should we ask them to restate the commission? Because we've got a lot of conversation here. Do we know exactly what those...
I think I only heard 2, but there may, I think, Mr. Schlechter.
That I mentioned before in terms of the south side, which is the grading away from our property, not putting us, the building will not put us in the floodplain that are not otherwise already, because we're not in it.
We agree.
We agree to those, they would move the pond 50 feet further away.
Well, I think those are in.
Yeah, right.
We're getting hung up.
They've agreed to on the record.
Okay. Okay, all right.
You okay?
Yeah. So then we have the resolution before the trustees, and if there's no other discussion, we'll call for a vote. Calling the roll, Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
No.
Okay. Passes.
Thank you.
I hope we make it. We make it for you.
John, how long did you work with John or George at the county?
30 years.
Wow.
Hey, John, 1 year, over.
Well, those are kind of like cat years too, I would imagine down there. Or dog years, I should say.
No, what I mean, never got better, just kept going.
We'll take a minute till people clear out.
Hey, we appreciate your investment. We appreciate your investment.
Thanks for coming out.
No. I know. Listen. We hope you find our services.
Hey, you know, poor Rick, he's thinking he starts out with the guy that wants to leave the township and how bad things are, and you're coming in with a project.
You know, but I got a question. Darryl, by him coming in, is that a complaint? I guess it is, right? By this guy coming in, is that a complaint for you to follow?
I guess so. It's the first I've heard of him this year.
Well, but I mean, I think he has a responsibility to tell you.
I'm sorry, I don't see anything wrong with doing a wood pile. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm looking at it and stuff. Yeah, I'm saying, he hasn't even come in and took the time to call.
Website. They're attached to the resolution.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, we've got a good service department and stuff. It's just, you know.
Although I didn't have to have the last month where we got caught on fire.
Is plow dip in or something?
We have actually.
Did you get them out?
We all together got them out.
Wow. Those trucks are huge and with a load of salt, so that's moving. I know there were a couple, we had to get a front end loader and dig them out. Thank you very much.
I thought people conducted themselves pretty well. I've seen a lot.
Oh, man.
I didn't see what you.
I gotta come back and
I know you're not.
Later for the people.
No.
Just not gonna work. Guess we're stuck with
For sure you didn't want to watch it. Another dozen.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the Public Works Department. We have a monthly report and a resolution. Greg, take it away.
Good evening. Monthly report for May has been submitted. As you can see, the highlighted areas it's been a busy month for the month of May. Working all over the township and including here at our facility with salt domes and such. Had some road resurfacing completed on letter H, 1H. And we completed another drainage improvement. Letter G is Flanders Road ditch. That was a good project, dealing with 24-inch pipe, 130 feet. pending your questions, I'm ready to move to Resolution 14-064.
I'll move approval of Resolution 14-064, authorized to bid the Hasty Road, I think they're culverts, aren't they?
Yes, yes.
Hasty Road culvert.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you, and this is another project from our stormwater utility district, valued about $91,000.
Could you give us an update on the 10 Mile Creek? I mean, it seemed like a lot of the residents are insisting that that thing is bogged down again, and I know other residents have showed us some pictures of some damming out there. Can we just get an assessment of where we're at on that project? And again, as we move forward with things, it's only, you know.
Good question, good point.
Yeah.
I've already chatted with property owners to grant easement. So
Yep.
We're basically just waiting for sometime this summer.
Okay.
There's a big drought.
Yep. Sounds good.
Also, John, I had lunch with Keith, and they're out for proposals now for the environmental study and the permitting. He's not going to start the plans till he gets the okay from the Corps of Engineers and EPA. So he's moving with proposals. He thinks those will be done this fall.
Okay.
And then he would move into design if he gets the permits.
Okay.
Thank you, Greg. Next on the agenda is the fire department. There's nothing on the agenda. I would like to say that last meeting we talked about the fire department review. And as I said the last meeting, it's been online. We've updated a few things on it. I'm very pleased with the results of people calling in, asking for the report. As you know, it's online. We've been passing it out to various people of the community. We have gotten some feedback, and I think it's going very well. And that's somebody calling.
Sorry.
If there's no other comments, we'll move on to the police department. And they have nothing on the agenda. Is there anything here for?
One thing on the fire, I think we seem to have a lot of citizens. They're not here tonight, but we've had Al Hayes, we've had Carol Lynn Huber that seem to be anxious to get going. I'm wondering if we could form a preliminary citizens committee. We're out to Chamber, CIC, those types of groups. Well, what do you think about getting some of the citizen volunteers to meet with them, take a look at the report and give us input?
Well, I had met with John Zeitler, and we have too many Johns here in the township.
I know that.
And I mean, I need to see, and I know the chief has been in and out and things, but I need to see the chief's detailed report. And that includes his proposal moving forward with his department and his detailed budget as possible. I can't tell you how frustrated I was when I got home that evening to find out, you know, one of the top priorities is to hire a safety director. I had no idea that you guys hadn't mentioned it in your plan.
No,
So
it's not
again, I'm waiting
John,
for
it's
a
not in our
detailed
plan.
proposal of what the department's going to look like next year and where those expenses are going to go. Because once again, you know, in terms of when I look at the school, I mean, I don't see why we can expect much different unless we take a different tack. And that tack is showing exactly, you know, what we're providing, why it costs so much, and what the plan is moving forward. And I don't have a good feel for that. And I can't tell you how frustrated I was not to know that stuff. And even I thought we had commented or discussed that we weren't going to really push or pull the transport unit in there, and then to pick up the Toledo Blade and find 2 articles on the Blade about that. I just think that this community deserves to know what this is going to look like next year and beyond. And I think we got a real uphill battle if all we're doing is asking for more money.
Well, I'm not to the money yet, but I
Well,
think
it's coming quick, and so's the bottom of the drawer.
Well, no, I think the confusion is on patient transport. When it was presented before to the trustees years ago, it was, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, it was our crews responding first and then using the private sector to back us up. This proposal in the report, now, I don't know.
Well, there's one line in the whole report about it, so
Yes,
it says
but-
private-public.
Partnership.
Yes.
What that means is, we want to address the 16% that's 20 minutes and longer. So we both call it patient transport, but I think there's some confusion there. And we have asked the chief to get back to us on what's the cost of that. And I think he was off for a week or so. And I think the other thing we've asked the chief to come back is, what if the levy doesn't pass, or what if we don't put it on the ballot this fall? What's the contingency plan for that? And we've also asked him to look, is our, I'm not sure how many years we're going on the levy, but I think the report said 5 to 7, and that has to come from our finance people, if that's the timetable. But we've also asked the chief, do you need any more firefighters for that, in addition to the part-time people? That's what the report says. And I'm probably together with you. I don't have any, I don't know how you feel, Neil, but.
Do you think, and not to put more pressure on the chief and the lieutenants, but what if we put a timeline together to say by July 1st, maybe we put have Jonesy send out, we're getting committees together. I know the schedule is off from where we were, but.
We're behind schedule on about 4 of the bullet points already, so.
But this might push us to get back on
So
schedule.
at least we'd be on time with the timeline. Is that how it goes, or are we just going to be behind time on the timeline as well?
Why don't we say the first, why don't we say
So
the
if we
first
put it out,
meeting in July?
the first meeting in July, that we can, let's get out to the media, if any interested parties, get to the chambers, get to the social side of this thing, saying, by this date, we'd love to hear from you, just like we've had people calling in on our site, or our draft proposal. Personally, I still have a couple more meetings that I've got set up that I think will be done before July. And
I'd like to set the target.
but if we put a target date together, Chief, is that something we can get, if we put a date out there to get this thing, get what's been asked?
Sure. But all I ask is that if you're getting input from the citizens, that I be privy to that input, so I know how to develop my plan.
No, hold on. What I'm saying is that we want to put it, we'd love for you to be there July 1st for our first meeting of people the interested parties. But in the meantime, some of the things that John may have mentioned to you, and again, I know you've been out for a week, but if we could try to feel ourselves getting back, not that we're getting behind, but I feel like let's get back to speed here. July 1st is a drop dead date it could have to be July 1st, but it could be July 8th, that's, 4th of July week or whatever, but we can get.
Our first meeting is July 1st.
Or July 1st, but let's get the word out to get people that want to be here. We're not going to have any plans, we just want to kind of get a feel of who's interested and who's not at this juncture. You guys I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think by July 1st, we've got to say, this is what the future looks like, from the chief, from the other trustees, so that the financial group can say, here's what it's going to cost. And there's choices in the millage, too, as to the number of years. I think you added that
John,
to the report, didn't you, John?
I mean, right now, we should be determining the dollar amount at tonight's meeting needed, and we're nowhere near that. Like I said, I'm getting my information from media outlets, and I'm about had it with that. I mean, I need a detailed plan that I can say, this is what's best for the township, and in order to provide this, it's going to cost X. And there's still a lot of moving parts to that at this point in the game. And I know we've got a meeting set up next Thursday, that'll kind of hinge a couple things. But again, I'm not getting a good feeling. I think we're behind here, and I don't know how we get caught up, but.
And I will say, for all of us here, ProMedica wants to definitely talk. So they're along with some other folks. So those are the things that I want to personally try to get done the next 2 weeks here. So anyways, okay. So July, what do you think? July 1st, is that?
I think that's good.
Sure.
July 1st is fine.
We gotta get moving if we're gonna be on the ballot.
Speaking of ProMedic, I did meet the new president, and he is a township resident, and
Nice.
I think that that facility at Flower isn't going to miss a beat. I think we're
Fantastic.
lucky to have him and that facility here in our community, and looking forward to only good things over there.
Great.
Anything, mention anything for the police chief? Any questions or anything? Nope. Okay, next is the administration. As you know, I've deleted the resolution, and the only other thing I have is a review request for a new liquor permit at 3309 Pennsylvania. I think, and I still go by, I think this is the old El Matador's building. I think it was the Blackwood Cafe or something, but this is a new liquor permit. I have letters from the fire chief and the police chief, and they do not object to this. Once again, this is one of those where if you do not have a problem with it, we do not have to take any action. Hearing none, then the next item is...
Can I just go back one more time on the fire department? Are you guys thinking July, again, I don't mean to throw more on the chief here, but do you think July 1st is too long? I mean, do you think we need it before then? Because, I mean...
I don't think it's possible before then.
Okay.
But when do we need to have stuff to the Board of Elections for...
I'm going to say around August 6th to 8th, 12th, somewhere in early August.
Okay. So that's going to really shorten that window between when we have the information before us, how we get it out to the community, and then, we've got from August...
Got to raise some money.
and
We got a lot of
raise
moving
money.
parts to do.
Yes,
We've got to form a citizens committee.
yes.
It's a tight time. We can't go longer in July.
No, like I said, we're behind on like 4 bullet points already that you guys gave us, and I'm getting most of my information from the media, so I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop here. And I don't like that.
You can take my place.
Well, I don't know.
If need be, we're saying July 1st, but if need be, if we determine maybe next week talking, we could always have a special meeting in probably this week here of June, which would help move it up at least a week.
Probably the 17th is too quick.
Yeah, I would say that's too quick, but we can always have a special meeting if we determine July 1st is our regular scheduled meeting, but we can always have a special meeting before that. So we'll discuss that.
John, do you think we can have the costs by then too?
We'll see. Dave and I have already met one time on that, and Jim here.
It is pretty tight.
So it might, I'm just saying, we can always, if we have to move it up, at least every week counts, so.
Could we say that we want comments back from everybody by the 17th? And then that gives you the 17th to the 1st to work out the proposal for the levy, the costs and length of time, millage.
Yeah, we can, if that's...
So we're going to close the input for question and answer
By the 17th.
Yes.
How does that sound?
Well, I don't think we ever close the input, but we have the frame and things built and moving forward, like, we know what the thing's going to look like. We might not know what countertops we're putting in yet, but we've got a good idea. And let's just go for that time frame.
Okay.
That would give you 2 more weeks then to work on the cost
Right.
proposal.
Does the fiscal officer have anything to bring up?
So what did we decide then, when are we going to have the layout so that then we can start looking at the village?
Well, it looks like we're going to have it won't be closed off, but we will, after this week here, we will start moving forward, receive the comments that we have. If somebody wants to comment afterwards, that's fine, but we will base on what we're doing on the comments that we received.
Does that include the chief's plan too?
Yes.
Chief's plan too?
Oh, yeah, it's got to.
What was that date, John? I can't...
The week of the 17th, the week of the 17th.
Our next meeting, Chief.
So the 17th, I guess, chief.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay. No, I don't have anything on the agenda.
Okay,
August comments.
any open discussion?
I have one thing I just want the other board members to know, that I met with the Lot Owners Association in Renaissance Place in regard to the annexation request last evening. So hopefully we'll be able to bring them into the discussion.
We had discussed too, I think it's the Edward Company that owns the apartment.
Chelsea
Place, they're out of Columbus.
I haven't tracked that one down yet, but I can have that done.
Here I go back to one thing before I bounce around. Chief, you'll be with me on those meetings with those ProMedic and Mobile Care. I didn't mean you to think I was not including you there. Okay, thanks, yeah, sorry, but I want the public to hear that too, so, sorry about that.
Any hearing of the public?
Jonesy, you're the only one left.
That's it?
All right, I would like to offer a motion to adjourn at 6:04.
Second?
Mr. Randall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.